Hey guys, today I want to go over why I don't have desting, even though it dropped last night in our raid. It was super exciting, but a lot of people, uh, in Twitch chat when it dropped, were confused why I wasn't getting the item. So I thought I would explain why I don't have desting. So first of all, I want to start by saying it was my decision to not get the first desting, and I did not want the first desting. And you might be thinking, well, I'm crazy. I must not know the value of the item. And I'm aware how good an item it is. It's like a 4.5% damage increase if you swap out the gloves for gloves of enforcement. It's massive. 4.5% is insane for one item. Uh, in my opinion, it's the best item in the game, period, in Classic for a dagger rogue. Uh, I think even though Purd is going to suit you for much longer, it's also Purd is much less rare. So I do think that desting is like the single most important thing to get overall for Dagger Rogue. But I mean, uh, at the end of the day, you also have to understand that while desting is amazing and all, it's still going to give you less damage than like a Dire Maul buff, and it's still less damage than Songflower, and it's less damage than you know a Nixia buff, right? And so when you think about like items in Classic, they're really not very impactful. And I mean, even though 4.5% sounds like a lot of damage, my DPS would go from 1,000 to 1,045. Like that's not even noticeable, in my opinion. I mean, there's not even. I mean, maybe I would move over a person on the DPS meter, but unless you're going for parses at like the highest level, like those kind of DPS gains aren't necessarily even noticeable, even though it is a big a big increase. And so, uh, personally, I don't really care about my DPS, and that's why even though it is a massive DPS upgrade for an item, right? 4.5%. To me, that's not going to change anything of how I play the game. I'm gonna look at it. It's gonna look cool. It's gonna feel cool that I have the item. But I mean, I'm not going to gain any sense of enjoyment from the increase in DPS. I'm not going to gain anything from an increase in like potentially a parse percentage. Like that's not going to do anything for me. And so when I really thought about it, I thought to myself, okay, if I had the choice between Jom Gabar and Death Sting, and I had to pick one and I couldn't get the other for the rest of Classic, I would pick Jom Gabar. I would do the same thing, and I'll show you these items as I'm talking about them. I would pick Jom Gabar over Desting if I had to pick only one that I could have the rest of Classic. It's just, to me, this item is more fun. This adds play. I know it's not as big of a DPS increase, and it's not the right decision if you're trying to do as much DPS as possible in like Raid. But this item's fun. This item changes the way you play the game. This item could actually make like a boring ZG actually a little more exciting because you're trying to get the most out of this item. You're trying to stack all your damage up right at the end. Uh, so personally, I would, if I had to choose between them, I would pick Jom Gabar. I would do the same with Burrow or Shell. I think this item is way better than Desting in PvP. I think this item's insane. And I could go down the list. I would probably, I mean, I had to think about it for a while, and I was at a stalemate. I'm not sure. I might want Shard of the Fallen Star more than Death Sting because you can use it, and it shouldn't share a cooldown with other trinkets. So you can use it with Renataki for like a one shot, and this would give you more damage, trying to one shot someone than getting Death Sting would, right? And I mean, even stuff like I think I would rather have the Vanquish Tentacle than Desting if I had to choose between one and I didn't get the other the rest of the game. And so the main reason why I guess I would want Desting over those other items is really just the rarity. But I mean, if I don't care about my DPS, I feel like this item would be wasted on me. It's not going to change anything. I mean, it's going to feel cool to get it, but it's just DPS. And maybe if DPS was more important in Classic, maybe if there was more DPS checks, maybe if there were fights that like every single point of damage mattered, I would feel differently. But Classic is so easy that an item like Desting, to me, wouldn't really change anything. I'd equip it, my average backstab and my average auto attacks would go up. it is such a big upgrade. Maybe I'd notice it a little bit, but another thing to mention is like the top end of this item. It's only 7 more top end damage than Perdition Blade, and I mean you add in the attack power, but all in all, you're not even going to be hitting harder at the highest highs. Like if you have a massive crit with Death Sting, well, you could have gotten that same massive crit with Perdition Blade. It would have been just a little bit less damage. And by a little bit, I mean like if you're critting an ambush for 2,500, Perdition Blade would have been like 2,450, which, I mean, 50 damage on an ambush is impressive, but it's not, it's not like shattering or insane or anything. So that's really what it comes down to for me. Is I feel like when you, in the context of Classic, that your DPS doesn't really matter. That personally, I don't derive any enjoyment from trying to increase my DPS. I enjoy actually trying to play the character right, and that's why something like Jom Gabar would be way more fun to me. Because even though I'd be doing less damage than if I had Purd or Death Sting rather, at least it gives me something to play around. Like the enjoyment for me in the game comes from playing correctly, not necessarily the end number. And also, I mean, just having fun, PvP, like those are the things that I enjoy in the game. So all in all, the reason I decided not to take the first Death Sting is I really just thought, the other person would enjoy it more, and that it wouldn't really make sense to take the first Death Sting and then at the same time be like, well, if I had to pick between one forever, I'd rather have like these random items in AQ that like no one wants. And it's like, well, that doesn't make much sense to me. So last thing I'll mention is that this is not advice on what you guys should do. I am not recommending that you guys don't take Death Sting. It's a really, really good item. Like I said, like the best item in Classic, in my opinion, for a Dagger Rogue. So this isn't telling you not to take Death Sting. It's just maybe give you guys a little insight into how I view the game, what I consider important in the game, kind of why I don't care about items. This is something I've said a lot. Like I don't really care about items at all. Death Sting is, like I said, probably like the most prestigious rogue item. I don't care. I don't care that much for this thing either. So. Might sound a little crazy, but hopefully you guys understand what I'm talking about. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.